Whether you're in Washington, Wisconsin, or even back in the UK.
We take you behind the scenes, explaining US news, culture, and the era-defining presidential election.
Americaster, BBC News podcast, Untangling America.
Listen wherever you get your BBC podcasts.
This is BBC News, the headlines. A 58-year-old man, Ryan Routh, has been named by US media as the suspect of Sunday's apparent assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Donald Trump was left unharmed after gunshots were fired on a Florida golf course where he was playing.
The Secret Service agent that was on the course did a fantastic job. He was able to spot this rifle barrel sticking out of the fence and immediately engage that individual.
The suspect fled but was then arrested after authorities surrounded his vehicle on a highway nearby. The former BBC News presenter Hugh Edwards is due to appear at a hearing today after he admitted to making indecent photographs of children. Let's return to our top story in the US with what the FBI says was an apparent attempt to assassinate Donald Trump at his golf course in Florida. Mr. Trump was unharmed. My colleague Lucy Hockings is in Washington with all of the details.
The FBI is investigating what appears to be an attempted assassination against former President Donald Trump. Shots were fired in his vicinity on his Palm Beach golf course in Florida, one of his golf courses there, while he was playing with a colleague. It's understood Secret Service agents then opened fire on a suspect. That suspect then fled the scene by car. We've heard from Donald Trump's campaign team. They released a statement quite quickly in which the former president had this to say. There were gunshots in my vicinity, but before rumours start spiralling out of control, I wanted you to hear this first. I am safe and well. That comment from Donald Trump, and we've had more since then in which he has reassured people and told them he will keep fighting. An image of the moment when security services surrounded the suspect has also been released, and we can show you that now. He was detained in Martine County. This is by the sheriff's office. He was travelling on a northbound area of Interstate 95, following an alert which told officers to be on the lookout for this vehicle seen leaving the golf course in Palm Beach County. Well, US media quickly gave us a name, and it is Ryan Routh. We have some details about Ryan Routh. He is 58 years old and from the state of Hawaii. Further things have emerged about him as well, and we've been looking into some of the reports. Our BBC Verified team have been looking into them and looking at his social media posts that show he was deeply involved in efforts to get foreign fighters into Ukraine to battle against the Russian army. More details on that on the BBC News website. The Verified team have got a post up and running if you're interested in that particular angle of the story. But let's take you back to what actually happened on the golf course. We had quite an extensive briefing from security services that included the county sheriff. Here he is explaining how the incident unfolded.
1:30 this afternoon, call came out, shots fired. That was called in by the Secret Service. Because we're in constant contact with them all the time, we were notified of that, and we had units here that immediately sealed off the area. Fortunately, we were able to locate a witness that came to us and said, hey, I saw the guy running out of the bushes. He jumped into a black Nissan, and I took a picture of the vehicle and the tag, which was great. So we had that information. Our real-time crime center put it out to the license plate readers, and we were able to get a hit on that vehicle on I-95 as it was headed into Martin County. We got a hold of Martin County Sheriff's Office, alerted them, and they spotted the vehicle and pulled it over and detained the guy. After that, we took the witness that witnessed the incident, flew him up there, and he identified as the person that he saw running out of the bushes and jumped into the car. Now, in the bushes where this guy was is an AK-47 style rifle with a scope, 2 backpacks which were hung on the fence that had ceramic tile in them, and a GoPro, which he was going to take pictures of. So those are being processed right now. The Secret Service agent that was on the course did a fantastic job. What they do is they have an agent that jumps one hole ahead of time to where the president was at. And he was able to spot this rifle barrel sticking out of the fence and immediately engage that individual, at which time the individual took off. So that's what we know about the investigation. We have somebody in custody right now that is a potential suspect. We got a little bit more work to do on it, but as we usually do, as soon as we decide that we're going to book him into the county jail and the charges that he's going to be booked into, we'll get those to you and we'll get a picture of him and we'll get you his background.
In the past few hours, we've also heard from Homeland Security, who have sent us some images to show you. They are Secret Service agents and Homeland Security, and they are searching the former home of Ryan Roth. We know this is in Greensboro, North Carolina. So the FBI in charge of this investigation now, and extensive searches are taking place in North Carolina. There's been reaction from right across the political divide. We've had Vice President Kamala Harris, she's of course up against Donald Trump in the upcoming election, saying that she's deeply disturbed by the possible assassination attempt of the former president. And she says, as we gather the facts, I will be clear. I condemn political violence. We all must do our part to ensure that this incident does not lead to more violence. And I am thankful that former President Trump is safe. I commend the US Secret Service and law enforcement partners for their vigilance. As President Biden said, our administration will ensure that the Secret Service has every resource, capability and protective measure in order to carry out its critical mission to protect the former president, because there had been huge criticism of the Secret Service after that first assassination attempt. This time round, widespread praise for their actions, particularly for that one agent who managed to spot the AK-47 in the bushes and those that apprehended him as well. But let's speak now to Daniel Lippman, who is White House and Washington reporter at Politico. Daniel, it doesn't quite have the emotional heft of the first assassination attempt this time round. Donald Trump was safe straight away and quickly moved away from the golf course. But nonetheless, you really get a feeling that people are very shocked here in the US over what has happened. How do you think it's going to change the campaign?
Well, remember 2 months ago, after Trump survived that first attempt, you had that famous photo of him with that raised fist and him yelling, "Fight, fight, fight." And that was a strong image. It showed that he was resilient. But you don't have an image like this this time. Thankfully, no bullet was taken out from the gunman, and he didn't have to go to the hospital. He was just rushed back to his resort. And so anyone who was sympathetic towards him last time and maybe went to his side probably is already on his side. So I don't think that he's going to get a huge bump from this. But it's a reminder of how heated the campaign is and how, we have a mental health crisis in this country that leads to people who have a screw loose and are out for blood.
Political leaders are all saying they condemn political violence. We've had another statement from Kamala Harris in the past few hours, President Biden as well. But Daniel, this is the second attempt, as you've said, on Trump's life in the past few months, and it's happened in a deeply divided country. Is the conversation now happening here that this just could be the new political reality?
Yeah, the conversation is, what are there going to be future attempts? And if he loses, are they... how are they going to protect him? Because he is entitled to some downtime. He loves to play golf. It's really hard to protect a golf course, which is, I've been down to Palm Beach multiple times. I've seen that golf course. And unless you're going to have agent after agent across every, foot or yard for that golf course, then he might be in danger. And so you also need to weigh the impact on local residents. Do you shut down that road that's close by when he is golfing? Or do you try to put more local law enforcement there? But also, if after the election, do the temperatures cool down? Do people feel less kind of jazzed up? And does that reduce further attempts on political violence? Since we have seen this multiple times. We saw Nancy Pelosi's husband get attacked. We saw a Republican leader, Steve Scalise, in the House. He was shot on a baseball field more than a decade ago. And so sadly, with America being so divided, that this is one of the consequences of that.
Daniel, as always, good to get your thoughts. Thank you very much for joining us. Daniel Lippman, White House and Washington reporter at Politico. Let's talk now to Barry Donadio, who is a former Secret Service agent who worked in the White House, protecting other presidents, President Obama included, and President Bush. Barry, good to see you. There was so much criticism of the Secret Service after that first assassination attempt in Pennsylvania. They're being widely praised today, though, for their actions. What are your thoughts on how they operated today and their actions?
Well, they did exactly what they were supposed to do. They led an advance team ahead of the president there. They detected somebody that was a threat. They engaged the threat, and the threat was removed. The president was moved to a safe location, and they apprehended the assailant. And kudos to the police, kudos to the Secret Service. They even did it without hurting the man with the rifle. So it is a good day for law enforcement, the president, and the Secret Service in its entirety. Absolutely.
Barry, can you give us some insights into the specifics of that one agent who was ahead of former President Trump on the golf course and spotted what was someone or the rifle, the AK-47, in the bushes? What would he have done first?
Yeah, I can reasonably state that if it were me, and they would probably act as if I would react, there was probably not even any time to call in on a radio. He probably saw the threat. He or she may have given voice commands to drop the rifle. And if there was non-compliance, there would have been rounds downrange towards the threat. That's just the bottom line. I understand there could have been as many as 6 shots fired. So I'm not quite sure if he was even hit or not. But at that time, other agents would be calling on the radio to shelter the president or get him off the golf course to a safer location. So they did appropriately exactly what they were supposed to do.
Barry, we've just been hearing about some of the difficulties of protecting President Trump, particularly in this country, which is so divided at the moment. Even something like a golf course that former President Trump likes to go out on all the time, how hard that can be. How concerned are you at the moment about the challenge that exists for the Secret Service agents on duty protecting him in such a pressurized environment?
Yeah, the Secret Service agents have a tough job on a regular day. It's stressful. There's no mistakes allowed. You have to be 100% every single time. As far as more security, I would like to see more security, more protection, not only for former President Trump, but also President Biden and Kamala Harris as well. We have to up the level. Right now, this is a tense time in the United States. There's something going on. Somebody is attacking this president, President Trump, whether it's a lone gunman or it's just simply fashionable to do it to him. They're going to have to rise to the occasion. They're going to need tactical teams out there. Everywhere this man goes from this point on is going to have tactical teams sweeping wood lines anywhere he goes. It's just the state of the world we're in at this time. Until that threat level goes down, that's just what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to find the manpower from somewhere or get people out there who they can trust, whether it's local law enforcement SWAT teams or Secret Service ERT, Secret Service CAT, any element of the Special Operations Division. They all need to be out there. They need to get more resources out there to prevent this. I have a feeling there'll be other copycat potential attacks like this. Who knows, this day and age, it's possible. So we have to be ready for it.
Well, Lucy has also been speaking to Julie Harris, president of the National Federation of Republican Women, who gave us her reaction.
From the time I left Daytona Beach until I landed back in D.C., there had been this second assassination attempt. As I was getting on the plane, my plane had been delayed several times, so I was a little disconnected from the world, and I had heard that there had been shots fired in the vicinity of the president, but by the time I landed, it was clear that there had been a second assassination attempt. It's a tragic day. It's very sad for America. This is not who we are. This is not how we handle our political differences with our opponent. I reject the notion that this is going to become a trend in American politics. It can't become a trend. We stand for democracy. We need to get back to debating policy and stop dehumanizing one another. The left has called President Trump Hitler. They have dehumanized him. They have said he's a threat to democracy. What do you do if you feel like someone is really threatening your freedom? We don't know if these are lone, crazy people or if it is a state-sponsored terror of some sort, if it's a foreign enemy, a conspiracy. We need the facts. We don't even have all the details from the last assassination, and now assassination attempt, and now we have a second attempt. We need to know what is going on here. We need the parameters around President Trump to be expanded. We need to protect democracy by protecting the presidential candidates.
Julie, would you like to see more protection now around the former president? There's some weeks to go still until the election, and you've also just reflected on how divided this country is and how heated some of the rhetoric is. Do you think he needs further greater protection?
Absolutely, absolutely. And as I said, it's a part of protecting freedom. The right for these candidates to run for president, to have the differences, to have these debates, and not to have assassination attempts against them. It is part of protecting freedom to protect President Trump. I'll tell you one thing that this has done here, one of the things that this has done, I was thinking as I was driving from the airport back to home, I was thinking, you know, there will be very few people sleeping during this election. I think we're going to see a lot less apathy. They're going to choose a side one way or another because we have been woken up in America.
Julie Harris from the National Federation of Republican Women speaking to Lucy Hockings. Now, we're just going to take you to Westminster Magistrates Court in London because this is where we are expecting the former BBC News presenter Hugh Edwards to appear for what could be his sentencing after admitting that he had in his possession child abuse images. He is due back in court today, and this follows a hearing in July at which Hugh Edwards admitted having 41 such images of child abuse, which were sent to him on the WhatsApp platform. The estimated age of the children in most of the pictures was between 13 and 15, but in one, the age was between 7 and 9, so that makes them the most serious types of images of this nature. Until last year, of course, Hugh Edwards was one of the BBC's main presenters and fronted the big news bulletins of the day and also the British major national events. We'll keep an eye on what's happening at Westminster Magistrates Court. Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News. New border controls come into force in Germany today and will be effective for the next 6 months. They're part of Berlin's response to rising migration concerns amid a surge in far-right sentiments and recent violent incidents involving asylum seekers. The government has promised to speed up deportations of migrants who have no right to stay in Germany. Poland is set to declare a state of natural disaster as extreme flooding extends across parts of Central and Eastern Europe, and torrential downpours are forecast to continue until at least the end of the day. At least 3 people have died in Poland, 5 have been killed in Romania, while in Austria a firefighter died tackling the floods there. Several people remain unaccounted for in the Czech Republic. Some parts of Poland have faced the worst flooding in almost 3 decades, and a bridge collapsed in this historic Polish town near the Czech border. Our correspondent in Prague, Rob Cameron, told us that there is hope there, that rivers have reached their peak and will not get any higher in Czechia.
Well, as you can probably see, there is still quite a lot of rain in the clouds across this country. There is a sense of cautious optimism that the worst perhaps is now behind us. If I just step away, you can see the river Vltava here now in Prague. This time yesterday, that river was pretty much half of the way across that embankment. Now it's just lapping over the edge of it. So there is a sense, at least here in this part of the country, in the capital Prague and the central Bohemian region, that the rivers have culminated. They're not going to get any higher, and the flow is beginning now to lessen and beginning to ebb. On the other side of the country, however, North Moravia, Silesia, the very northeastern part of the country, there the situation is still critical. Rivers there are beginning to fall a little bit, but they are obviously leaving behind them a devastation which is now becoming clear as the clouds part and the emergency services get a better view of what destruction has been wreaked on these towns and villages. Places like Krnov, Opava, Šumperk, Hanušovice. These are small towns in the mountains of North Moravia and Silesia, many of which were completely cut off by these floods, and they have suffered considerable damage. A number of houses have fallen into the river. About 10,000 people in total have been evacuated. So if there is more rain today on Monday, then that's obviously bad news for that region, which is only just recovering from this catastrophe.
That was Rob Cameron reporting from Prague. Well, this is the scene live in the Polish city of Nysa. We've had correspondents there all weekend just keeping an eye on just how much higher those river levels might go. And we know from the Polish Prime Minister who was speaking at the weekend, Donald Tusk, that they are about to introduce a state of natural disaster, which should mean that there is more help triggered from the European Union to help with the scenes of incredible devastation and evacuation that we've seen not just in Poland but also in other parts of Central Europe. One of television's biggest nights has taken place in Los Angeles. The 76th annual Emmy Awards featured some of the biggest stars in television, with The Bear and Shogun and Baby Reindeer all leading the pack with a handful of awards each. The show's creator and star, Scottish comedian Richard Gadd, won 3 of the Baby Reindeer's 4 awards for acting in, writing and executive producing the show. Presented by father and son duo Eugene and Dan Levy, the awards were the second Emmys to take place this year after the 2023 awards were postponed due to a writer's strike. Well, entertainment journalist Sandro Monetti spoke to us about one of the Emmy winners, Baby Reindeer.
Greatest power in marketing is word of mouth. And as soon as it appeared on Netflix, it's the show everybody was talking about all over the world. And it's so unusual, so different. And Richard Gadd in his speech said, you know, we're in a risk-averse industry at the moment, and he was urging the industry to take risks. You know, as I said before, all these, what links these shows that were the big winners tonight, including The Bear, Hacks, and others, no big stars in them. them. I mean, I look down at that audience. It's got Meryl Streep. It's got Robert Downey Jr. These are the kind of people who are nominated. Yes, they're normally winning. But no, it's ushering in a whole new generation of talent, new faces, diverse faces as well. And I think it shows a healthy turn of the page for the TV industry.
Sandro Monetti. The Shanghai Tourism Festival has kicked off with an explosion of colour and culture. Several elaborately designed floats took part in a parade highlighting the city's most visited locations and iconic landmarks. During the next few days, there's a jam-packed schedule of cultural and sporting events, including the highly anticipated first Shanghai International Light Festival. So let's just take you back to the live scene here that we're keeping an eye on. This is outside Westminster Magistrates Court in London, where we are expecting to see the former BBC News presenter Hugh Edwards arrive, where a sentencing could take place. If it doesn't take place today at this Magistrates Court, it could be because the Chief Magistrate there has decided that his powers are not great enough and the case needs to be sent up to the Crown Court for further consideration. If Mr Edwards does get sentenced today, the maximum he could get from the Magistrates Court is 12 months. We will, of course, be following this story throughout the day here on BBC News.